Get ready to get sticky. Sticky Situations is sponsored by Corona Crush. Corona Crush is creating Jewish couples always. Join the Facebook group. Just search Corona Crush and look out for virtual speed dating events happening every other week. They're 100% free and 100% Jewish.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Sticky Situations. I'm your host, Rachel, which obviously you already know because I'm unforgettable. Everyone, right now, whatever platform you're listening on, go follow or subscribe, whichever the platform allows for. Give us a 5-star rating and a glowing review. Nice reviews only, please. Go follow Sticky Situations Pod on Instagram. Follow Sticky Situations Pod on TikTok. If you would like to be a guest on my podcast, please send me a message. I would love to hear from you. I would love to record with you or even just talk to you further. I love hearing from everyone, and I give this plug every episode. Your age, location, gender, relationship status, sexuality, like, I don't care. Like, come and talk about it. All I want are some Jewish dating stories. Religious level, I don't know if I said that, but yeah, come talk to me on the podcast. I would love to hear from you. If you would like to date, oh yeah. So if you want to be a guest on my podcast, you can. There are applications in my Corona Crush posts, or you can send me a DM on Instagram at Sticky Situations Pod, or send me an email at stickysituationspod@gmail.com. If you would like to date any of my single guests, I would love to try to set it up for you. Just send me a message in the same ways, Sticky Situations Pod on Instagram or stickysituationspod@gmail.com. Okay, everybody. I have an extra special guest today, and I'm really excited about this episode. So I'm going to introduce her, and I don't ever since she actually reached out to me, so another plug to reach out. And I've been so excited since our conversation to record. So I'm excited. I'm really excited for this episode. So I hope you guys are excited too. So everyone, please welcome my friend Hannah. Hannah, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you. So, Hannah, before we get into everything, can you just tell me and my listeners some basic information, your age, location, relationship status, and religious denomination?
Okay. So age, I am 67. I can't believe I'm turning 68 in June. These
Wow.
years just keep going on, but I'm young at heart. So you
Yes.
said your age, your location. I'm in Baltimore, Maryland.
Relationship status.
Relationship status, I'm a widow, so I guess I'm single, but I've been a widow for almost 23 years. Hard to believe that also.
Wow.
And religious level, is that what the
Yeah.
next thing was? Yeah, so I never know how to answer that. I'm somewhere between conservative and orthodox. I don't know if conservadox really describes me. So this is where I'm at religiously. I grew up modern Orthodox, Shomer Shabbos, kosher, the whole thing. That has not changed. I'm strictly kosher, Shomer Shabbos. When I was that age, Taharat Mishpacha, the whole works, all of that. I wear pants. I don't cover them. I didn't cover my hair. If I get married again, I'm not going to cover my hair. I sing Zamirot in front of men. But there is this thing that I do that kind of makes it very hard for me to date because keeping Shabbos and doing all these wonderful things, but I also walk to a conservative egalitarian shul that's a few blocks away from me, and I read Torah and lead davening and give divrei Torah. And I even learned how to lead High Holy Day services. I go out of town to a synagogue in Indiana and I lead service. I've done that for the last couple of years, and I did it in a few other places a few years before then. So I just could never make peace with the role of women in Orthodox Judaism. And I know there's lots of Orthodox women listening out there. Oh, but you know the woman's role and it's beautiful and the woman this and the woman. Fine, very good, but that doesn't work for me. This is what works for me. So,
I
and
like
for
it.
people to accept that of me is what I'm looking for. It makes it hard for me to date because either the guys are not from at all, which is not what I'm looking for. They have no problem with my leading stuff because they don't care, or they're too from and they're uncomfortable with a woman. So I know you like to be a wannabe matchmaker. You want to take me on? I'm thrilled. So,
Yeah, so gentlemen, if you are of an appropriate age and religious level, reach out. Let me know.
so I
Like,
would go 10 years older or younger, either way, up to 10, 11 years, something like that.
okay, so gentlemen, reach out if you're interested. I would be so excited to set that up. But yeah, it's I feel like the problem with I don't know if it's in all like parts of Judaism, but one of the problems that I find in Orthodox Judaism is that everyone constantly wants to put everyone else in a box with like a neat label. And most of the time, and I feel like a lot of the guests that I have on don't fit in like a box. Like
Yep.
even me, like I don't exactly fit in a box. And it's really hard. Like, okay, great. It's fine in your social circles. Nobody, my friends don't care where I want to go to school. My friends don't really care what I'm doing. I have friends with like knees, elbows, collarbones covered all the time. And I have friends who are way less religious than me. But it's like, it's always a problem in dating.
Yep.
So it's interesting. It's interesting that it never gets better.
And I have friends here of all walks of life. I have friends who invite me for Shabbos who are very, very frum. And, and I have friends in the conservative shul, and I have friends who are not affiliated at all. And as long as you accept one another, that's all that counts.
Yeah, and I think in dating, we we're always like so, and I'm guilty of this too. Like I'm so close-minded when it comes to a guy who might not meet what exactly like I don't know. I I feel like anytime I get a suggestion and he's like he seems like a little bit too religious, I'm like, "Oh, that's an ick." Like I don't know, but like really I should be open-minded as long as they're open-minded to me. I was having this discussion with a friend and we were talking about it and like, okay, I'm not like if I see a guy's profile and it's like, "Oh, I go to Minyan 3 times a day. I learn." Like his picture has a velvet yarmulke, I'm likely to say no. But at the end of the
Yep.
day, I shouldn't. I should be open-minded because as long as he's open-minded to what I'm doing, like if he doesn't care that I'm wearing pants and I don't want to cover my hair, then like I should be open-minded too. The problem is that we're all closed-minded.
Yep.
And yeah, so
Well, because you advertise Corona Crush and they're your co-sponsor, I decided to give it a try. And I've done the speed dating things twice. And
oh
both
really?
times, the guys were all with the big velvet yarmulkes and the white shirts and very, very prim and way too fr. And I'm like, what do I do? So then I changed my settings so that I mean, I can't change who I am, but I said that I would accept people, who didn't do all, and then they still sent me the black hat guys.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
I think I need to redo my survey. I keep getting guys who are yeshivish. Like
Yep,
I
we're
had
getting
I
that
had
too.
yeah, I had one I signed up like maybe a month or two ago and I think out of all the guys who showed up, I think I knew one of them, which usually happens, and the rest of them I think I had like a couple no-shows maybe, and the rest of them were yeshivish. Like, and they
Hmm.
were all driving. What is with these yeshivish guys taking these Corona Crush calls while they're driving? Like,
Ooh, that's not safe.
yeah, I'm like, you're gonna kill someone. Get off the phone. I was
No,
like, also,
my guys didn't
you're
do that.
yeshivish.
They weren't driving, but
No, it was
driving me
so
crazy. That's what they were
yeah,
doing.
it was like the weirdest thing. I had two or three that were driving, and I had a
Ooh,
few that
not
were
safe.
yeshivish. I actually I signed up there's a different organization that used the same software, and one I just wanted to try something new, so I signed up for theirs, and I filled mine out a little bit less religious. And I don't know if it was like different clientele for the different organizations, even though they're very similar, but I got like normal guys, like normal religious level, like they matched my religious level. I was like, wow, for the Corona Crush one, I need to like refill out my thing. Maybe I got to
Mm.
make it less religious.
So did you make your own profile less religious or just what you were looking for less religious?
I can't remember.
Because I don't know if you ever did this. I haven't seen them recently, but there was something during COVID called lightning speed dating events.
Mm-mm.
So they did a special one for people who were Shomer Shabbos. So I signed up for it. It was the craziest thing. I get into a Zoom room. Apparently, a bunch of people signed up, but only four showed up, two women and two men. One of the guys was younger than my son.
Oh,
He's
wow.
like, at the time, he was 23. My son was 25 at the time.
Oh my
And I'm
gosh.
like, oh my God, you are younger than my son. So instead of talking like for dating, I just told him some of the things my son does for dating. But it was just like, wow,
That's so funny. Wait,
that was
so
crazy.
on these like Corona Crush or any of these, like speed dating things, are there a lot of guys who are in your like age demographic?
Maybe not that many. Maybe that's why I only had two last time.
Oh,
One
okay.
time there was only one guy and he had tech problems, so we really didn't have a conversation. And then one night I had four guys, and one night there were five, but only four showed up. And then the
Okay.
last time I did it, there were only two. So I think I'm going to take a break from the next one because it's close to Pesach anyway. So I think I'll
Yeah.
skip the next one and then maybe the one after that. I don't know if I need to, I don't want to lie about who I am. I could say I'm not religious,
No.
but I don't want to do that.
I don't think I said I wasn't religious, but maybe it was just like I opened my I honestly can't remember how I filled it out to begin with. So I could have just like been more open-minded in what I was putting
Yeah, that's what I
of
tried to
like
do
what
is
I'm
change
looking
who I
for.
was willing to date. And on Saw You at Sinai, what I've noticed is that they see conservative, conservadox, egalitarian. So they'll send me any old guy who is in my age group who is conservative. And the guy could be a total whack job. But
Oh,
because he says it's
they
conservative,
send they don't care about any of your preference. I can't I stopped paying for my subscription. I probably still have a profile somewhere. I stopped paying I talked about this a lot. I hate Tell You What Sinai slash Why You Connect. Like, I will not do it. I did it for a long time. I would only get guys who were socially off or like not my religious level or really weird or like in California or they were like all of the above.
yeah, my
It
son
was
was
bad.
on YU Connects. He dropped out of it. He lives in Israel now. He's 29 and still single. He'll be 30 in July. He joined this thing called Shagririm B'Lev. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. It's mostly in Israel, but they're trying to move it to the States also. It's friends setting up friends. It sounds a little
Hmm.
bit like Loop.
So Hannah, I guess we started off with discussion, but I want to hear some of your stories because I know
Oh
you
my
have
God, they
like
get crazy. And now, if
your
you
whole
think I've heard
dating.
your stories and the stories of your guests, and I laugh and I think it's hysterical and crazy. But if you think that you have crazy guys in your age group, just wait till you get to my
Oh
age group. You haven't
gosh.
seen anything yet.
Oh
Because the
gosh.
Michigas that they had in their 20s, 30s, 40s, they're getting to their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond. And that gets even crazier. And
Wow.
life just our bodies don't have a lifetime warranties, however long we live for, and we're limited. But I got married at the age of 23. I met my husband when I was 22. I did date a little bit in college, so I'll start with the younger thing first. I just remember a couple of things from my younger years. I remember thinking that there must be something wrong with me when I was in college because I went to Stern for a year. I switched to Turo because I was an education major and I didn't like the education department at Stern at that time. So I switched to Turo. I also did my junior year in Israel at Neve Yerushalayim. So I had a few dates in college, but I had a lot of friends who were either meeting their significant other in college or getting engaged or getting married. And there I was graduating college. I had no significant other. And I thought, forget it, this is a lost cause. And then when I stopped thinking about it and stopped worrying about it, and I got a job and I actually lived on the Upper West Side, that's where I met my late husband. We were neighbors in a building called the Cambridge House. It was on West 86th. I think it doesn't exist as an apartment building anymore. It's a nursing home now, or it was
Oh.
I was 333 West 86 between West End and Riverside. I was on the fourth floor, he was on the second floor, so watch out
Oh
for your
wow.
neighbors. But it all started with a switchboard. We didn't have these little cell phones back then. We had rotary phones and there was a switchboard phone. And I was subletting in a different apartment in the same building. And I was taking the place of someone who was in Israel. And my late husband, Craig, dated everybody on the Upper West Side before he met. He was a real player. Yeah. So he
How old
called
was
on the
he when you guys met?
he was 6 years older than I was. So
Okay.
I was 22, he would have been 28. And then when we got married, we were 23, 29,
Okay.
almost 29. So he calls on the switchboard and says, "Is Mimi there?" And I said, "No, she's in Israel for the summer. Can I take a message for her?" "Well, who's this I'm talking to?" And then, it became a whole Jewish geography thing because he knew my brother and all that. So that's how I met my late husband. Some of the dates I had before I met my late husband, there was this one guy. We went to this kosher restaurant, which is no longer in existence. It was called Moshe Peking. It was a Chinese restaurant. And we were having dinner. A friend of mine fixed me up with him. And, the guy, they just clear away the thing. They're about to bring the check. And he looks at me. So, are we shared for each other? I'm like, I don't know. I just met you. I really don't know. I mean, we don't really know each other. And then
Oh
a
my
few weeks
God.
later, I see him at the library. Hashem is trying to tell us something.
Did you like him at all?
I don't know. I thought the conversation was like okay, but it was a little bit awkward. And then there was this other date. I don't know how we met these guys. My roommate and I had a double date when I was in college with these two guys. I don't even remember how the whole thing came to be. I just remember we went bowling and it was very awkward and the guys were not for us. We were clearly not for them. So when we ended, the guys just went, see ya, bye. So then when my roommate and I would come back from a date, we'd say, how was your date? Oh, it was a see ya bye kind of date. So it became our see ya bye kind of date. So that was
Good
the
way to
younger
describe
thing.
it.
Yeah, there was some crazies. There were probably some other ones that were crazy, but my memory is more with the older because now my husband died in 2002 from cancer at the age of 50.
I'm so
And
sorry.
now it's like the older is the crazy. So the first date that I ever went on after my husband died, it was this guy who'd never been married. And he was sitting there. He didn't really look like much. We had corresponded on what was then called Frumster, and now it's JDate. And he said something like, I'm really glad you enjoy your Judaism, but, I would love to talk to you about maybe, because I had written that how I observe Judaism and that kind of thing. And he said, would you like to go out to dinner? We can, whatever. So I said, okay, like I'm thinking of free dinner or whatever. So we went out to dinner and he's like, the guy doesn't look like much. He's got bad skin. He's overweight. He's since passed away, so I shouldn't really speak evil of the dead. And he wasn't an evil person or anything, but it was just like, I don't want other men looking at you when you're leading services and doing all these things. I don't want other. And he starts telling me how he doesn't cook and he goes out to learn every night. And I'm thinking, oh, so this is not going to be a very fun marriage if I were to marry such a person. And I finished this date, and also the food was really weird. It didn't taste very good. And I tasted something that just wasn't good. I'm hearing this guy go on, and I'm like, I'm so done. I can't eat anymore. The stuff doesn't taste good. And this conversation is really getting to me. So I just stopped eating and I let him ramble on. And then the date ended, and I had this vision. Sometimes my husband comes to me in a vision, and my husband came to me in this vision. You couldn't do any better than that. So that was that one. And then I had a
Wait,
guy who was, yeah, go ahead.
so when you when you first started dating again and you started to did you look for guys who had specifically been married before
Not
or
necessarily. No, I mean, that
or
first guy had never been married.
did you have a lot of because I find it interesting, like, not to be ageist or whatever, but like I feel like if I were in my 50s dating, I like some guy who was never I even think it now, like I'm 31. Like I don't want to go out with guys who are like in their late 30s who have never been married. I just like
Oh, my
in
son
my
better hurry up then. He's turning
yeah.
30. You better hurry up.
No, in their late 30s. I think in your early 30s it's still like pretty normal, but like any guy who's over like 35, it gives me and like I get it. I'm getting there in age. I mean, not really. I'm 31. But it gives me pause to like go out with these guys. Like I get suggested guys who are in like 38, 39, 40, and I'm like, no. Like not
It
even a
depends on the
question, like
situation.
not at
I know a
all.
lot of yeah, a lot of people my age wouldn't date someone who's never been married. But
Yeah,
sometimes people haven't been married because of life circumstances. So I wouldn't
that's true.
necessarily hold it against them.
That's true. In my mind, there's just something wrong with them. Like,
Could be.
and I I don't want it either. I like younger guys. I don't want to date older guys.
What I've had a lot is, and I'll tell you some of the stories. I've had divorce guys who will sit there on the date and complain about their ex-wives, and that
Ugh.
is so annoying because that means they're not over their relationship. And what I picture is that they would marry me, we would get divorced, and then they'll date someone else, and they'll tell that someone else all about me, about how that's the message that I get when I hear
Yeah.
them
I've
complain.
had that before. Like, I've gone out with guys who are divorced, and like, I find it to be a red flag if a guy is divorced and speaks ill of their ex-wife. Like I've gone out with great guys who are divorced and like would never ever say a bad thing about their ex-wife. Like they'll just say it didn't work out. Like, and if
Yeah,
it,
they can. Some guys will say
yeah,
it was,
if it
it was
gets,
both our faults that it didn't work
yeah,
out.
if it gets
You
further
know,
into the relationship where it's like,
yeah.
okay, like I want to know reasons, like we'll talk about it, but like I find it to be a major red flag if a
Mhm.
guy who's divorced, or honestly, even if a guy who isn't divorced who had a serious relationship in the past will speak ill of the person that they had a relationship with.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, a red flag is when a guy says his ex is crazy. It's like,
Oh yeah.
but
And then
is she?
there's also a friend of mine who was widowed. She's since remarried, but she had said to me, if somebody wants to set her up with someone who is divorced, what she wants to know is if they held up the get at all. If they were a get
Oh,
refuser or they extorted money or something in order to free that ex-wife, she wants to know about that. I
it's a
don't know
good
how you
question.
bring that up, but I would want to know, because I don't want
I
anything to
just
do with the
asked
get refuser.
straight. I asked straight.
You ask straight out.
Actually, a lot of guys, I find that if a guy is serious and like he wants to reassure you that like, because I feel like somebody who is divorced, I mean, maybe it's just because like my age, like it's not, it is, unfortunately, it is more common these days, but like just because like it's not as common, they'll lead with it. It's like, yeah, the divorce was amicable. I gave her a get right away. Like I've had a few guys like just like come right out with that information. I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah, I
cool.
mean, my daughter's going through a divorce right now. She has two little kids, and you know what? It was nothing evil. It just wasn't,
Yeah,
it didn't work out.
yeah,
And and that's okay. And it just, that's just life. Sometimes marriages work out and sometimes they don't.
yeah,
But she has two beautiful kids, and I'm still keeping up with my son-in-law. He's still legally, they did the get right away. There was no like holding up the get kind of thing. And he's the father of my grandkids. So, I'm going to keep up with him, and that's not an issue.
yeah.
But it's hard. I don't hold it against a divorced guy. I don't hold it against someone who's never been married and someone who's widowed, as long as they didn't murder their wife, that's fine too. It's
You'd
really
hope.
what kind of person are you? No matter what
Yeah,
demographic you are, because life happens. We all have different hardships, and it's how you react. How do you deal with that hardship? And as we get older, we are touched by more tragedies, deaths in the family, death of parents, siblings. God forbid, thank God, my siblings are all well, alive, and healthy, and hopefully they'll stay that way for a long time. But my parents have been gone a long time. So I think that we have to just realize that the longer we live, the longer we're touched by different things that happen in our lives, and to be cognizant of that. So I'll tell you a few other dating stories.
sure.
There was this one guy that I met through my brother. He lived in a town my brother doesn't live there anymore, neither does this guy, but it was about 45 minutes to an hour's drive away. And I dated him a few times, and it was going okay. It wasn't fabulous, but it was going all right. We were still having some fun together. And he invited me to spend a Shabbos there with because it was his birthday weekend, and I would spend some time with my brother and sister-in-law, stay at their house, and I had Friday night with my brother and sister-in-law. And then he invited all of us to come over for lunch, for Shabbos lunch, and he said if I could bring my kids too. My kids at the time were in middle school and high school or something like that. That my kids are 5 years apart. So we go there. I go to his house to bring something for the meal. I don't know, a bottle of wine, whatever it was. I wanted to bring it before Shabbos. And who answers the door? A
A
girlfriend.
woman.
Apparently, this wasn't actually a girlfriend because he said he was a Kohen and this person was divorced and they were like best friends or whatever. She's staying with him. I'm like, okay, what the heck did I come here for? And I'm like, well, it was a nice Shabbos with my brother and sister-in-law and their kids. That was fun. And my kids got a chance to be with their cousins, whatever. And then we get there for the Shabbos meal. And it's a little strange because he's spending more time with talking to her than to any of us. And there were some other guests there too. It was just really weird.
No, that's
And
so
then my
weird.
brother had a learning group in the afternoon, and the guys were sitting at the table learning and whatever. And the girl comes with him. She's walking with him. So I figured, you know what? I'm going to treat him the way he treated me. And I figured I'm just going to get to know this girl, and we're just going to talk, and we're going to ignore him. So he's talking,
Wow.
and then after the learning group thing is over, I'm just sitting on the couch having a grand old time talking to this woman. She's actually a very nice woman. And I'm just like, can't we leave him out of the conversation? But I thought the whole thing was really weird.
No,
And then
that's so weird.
so crazy. And then afterwards, he's sending me these emails about getting together again. And I talked to friends and they said, just don't respond. So I didn't respond. So he asked my sister-in-law, why isn't Hannah responding to my emails? And she said, you're bringing a widow from out of town and you ignore her. Is this what you want? This person has since gotten remarried and he actually married someone who was divorced and decided he wasn't a Kohen after all, that it
Oh, wow.
wasn't 100%, that not that same woman, he married someone else, but it was just really weird. I also
That's so
had
weird.
something, a couple other stories. I had this guy that I met on JWed. I think it was still called Frimster at the time. He lived maybe 4 or 5 hours away, and he was very impulsive. It was really weird. He had been divorced twice. And he said that the second divorce, he didn't want to get divorced. The reason the second divorce happened was the first wife was very unstable and she kept bothering them. And now the first wife has been remarried, so she won't bother him if he marries again, which sounded a little bit off. He had a couple kids, also close to my kids' age. And he calls me. We were talking about him coming for a Shabbos in Baltimore and we hadn't met yet. But we shouldn't have done it that way. We should have done something without meeting everybody else first. But I don't know. I was younger. I wasn't thinking that straight. And so we hadn't figured out a date yet. Then all of a sudden he calls me at 10 o'clock on a Thursday night. Could he come for that Shabbos? And I said, there's no way I can put this all together this quickly. I have to find a place for you to stay. I have to find meals. It's just too late. I cannot ask people at this late stage of the game. Oh, but I'm free. This is when I'm free. So finally I got him to say, I said, let's get a date on the calendar or whatever. So he comes a different date and that's fine. The Shabbos goes well. My friends like him. But then Saturday night, it's in the summer that he comes and it's late. Shabbos ends late. And my daughter had something that I had to take her. I think it was like the Maccabee thing. It was a teenager thing. And I had to take her to get this early bus to go to this week thing out of town, this week-long thing out of town. And I had to get up really early on that Sunday morning, and Shabbos ends late. So he's coming over, I don't know, 11 o'clock at night, whatever. And the guy doesn't leave. I need to get some sleep, and he doesn't leave. I don't understand it. Finally, he leaves. And then we're supposed to get together the next day. And he's like not ready. He's at the place where, we were supposed to be ready at a certain time. He's way late. He's just not ready. Finally, he's ready. We go to Barnes and Noble and then we're going to go out to lunch. And he's looking at every single book. And I'm getting hungry. It's like close to 2 o'clock already. It's nice. I like to browse bookstores and talk about the books. But he's like, like some people go to a museum and they have to look at every little word and every little. I dated a different guy like that, and that took finally I said, do you think we could go to lunch now? Because it's getting kind of late. So we did that. And then also I forgot to mention that Sunday, he had this idea in mind that there was a weekend that Labor Day weekend, my niece was getting married out of town. And he wanted me to spend that Shabbos with his family. He had some kind of family event, not that, I don't know, a few hours away. And it was on the way towards where my niece's wedding was going to be. And he wanted me to stay at some hotel nearby and meet his family. The whole thing, I said, but I've got to get to Long Island for this wedding. And he was so pushy. So then he calls his family, and his family doesn't want me to come. They want to focus on the family. It's fine with me. I don't have to come.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like begging them to let me come. And I'm not even sure I want to come. And then the clincher was a month or two later, we were going to meet at my brother's for Shabbos. And he is leaving way too late to pick up his kid from school to come for Shabbos. And he calls me, he's not going to make it in time for Shabbos. So that's when I said, forget it. This is over. I can't do this anymore.
Oh, wow. How long did it last? Like, how long did you
It lasted a few
dating?
months. It was more phone call because he was out of town, so it was a little bit harder. So we only met in person that one weekend, but that weekend was pretty packed with a lot of time together. Out of town relationships are a little bit tricky. It wasn't like he was in California, but still, even in a few hours away, it's a tough thing.
It's hard.
But it can be done. One of the crazy, here's another one. The guy I mentioned about the museum. museum, the guy who was, in the museum looking at every little thing. Very sweet guy. But he came back from a vacation and we got together and we go to a restaurant. He's pulling out these photographs, not on the phone, but this is before the smartphones. He's got these envelopes of pictures, showing me all these pictures. Yeah, very nice. You had a great vacation. The whole date, he's not asking me anything about how I spent those last 2 weeks. How have you, all about him, all about his vacation, picture after picture. And then finally we start talking about other things and he puts away the pictures. And I mentioned something in passing about how hard it is for me to go to Shabbos tables where they're singing Zemirot and, I can't, and they don't want women to sing. And I find it really hard. Sometimes I'll get up and help in the kitchen, or I'll just make an excuse to go sit on the couch because I don't want to sit at the table and not sing. And so he's like, you can just sing under your breath. And I'm thinking, well, you know what? You sing under your breath. And in fact, you talk about your stupid vacation under your breath too, I didn't say that, but that's what I
was going to say. What is your response?
I did not say that to him. But, I ended it. I told him I didn't think this was going to work out. And then a few years later, he happened to be in Baltimore for Shabbos. So we happened to be at the same shul. I said hello to him at the Kiddush. We had a few laughs. It was very nice. And then a few days later, he calls me or emails me and said, a few years ago we dated, and I think I did some things that annoyed you. He didn't go into specifics. Would you be willing to give it another chance? And I thought that was very sweet that he admitted that maybe he did some things that I didn't like. And I thought, okay, I'll give the guy another chance. And I did. And it was nice. It was okay. But, then I realized, what, religiously, it's never going to work. He also mentioned something about how his brother married a woman who used to be a female cantor. And I said, really? So how did she handle that? Well, she wanted to be married to my brother, so she doesn't do that anymore. And I'm thinking, okay, this is what you're going to expect from me. It ain't going to happen. Maybe for her, but I didn't say that, but I just said, you know what? You didn't do anything wrong this time. I didn't do anything wrong. It's just that we're not a match for each other.
Do you think I feel like the more modern, I don't know, I live in a very modern community and I've never felt uncomfortable in my community with if they were singing Zmira, if I wanted to sing. I've only really felt that at if I went to people's houses who were a little bit more yeshivish leaning.
There's a lot of those people in Baltimore. This is a very yeshivish community. There is a modern Orthodox group here, and you kind of have to work hard to find your niche. But it's hard. And if you want to have invitations for Shabbos meals because it's lonely to be by yourself, because when I wasn't an empty nester, it was one thing, but now I'm an empty nester. So, I'm by myself and it's nice to have meals with someone, but it's just awkward. And some people don't do Zemirot at all for that reason. They don't want anybody to be uncomfortable, so they just don't do it at all. And it's kind of a loss, but it's, it's a little bit crazy. I've had guys that I have weeded out on the phone or by email. I weed them out right away, and I had never dated. So this one guy I spoke to, he starts talking about when he got divorced, how he should have taken the furniture, and I let the ex-wife have the furniture, and I still don't understand where that furniture. And I should have this, I should have that. And I'm thinking, this is all you have to say is about the furniture? And I remember from his profile, it said that he grew up conservative and became Orthodox. I've got the great card to get rid of this guy. I said, let's talk about religious levels and whatever. And I said, it's really important to me to read Torah, the egalitarian synagogue, and to lead services. Oh, no, I'm not going back that direction. So, I call that playing the conservative synagogue card. I figured that was a great way to get rid of the guy. And I did. And I got rid of him.
So, would you care if a guy was like, oh, I'm personally not comfortable going to a conservative synagogue? I don't know. I don't know. I don't really go to shul, so I don't know if I really care. But if a guy was like, oh, no, I would prefer on Shabbos to daven with a traditional minyan and with traditional Torah reading. But if you want to go, I don't care. That's fine with me.
I guess I would definitely consider it, but I would prefer a guy who would come, even if he didn't want to come every week, but if he came once in a while, and not be totally against it. I would never walk into a place like that. I would
Yeah.
like it if the guy would be willing to come and meet my friends there. And I get it, if this is not really where his niche is, that's okay. And the thing is, we could be in the same shul or in different shuls, because in an Orthodox shul, you're sitting on opposite sides of the mechitza anyway. You're not
Yeah.
sitting together in shul in an Orthodox shul. So it's not like you're missing out on anything if we go to a different shul, except for maybe
Mhm.
the kiddush. So maybe one of you would come to the other one's kiddush, but the
Yeah.
timing doesn't always work out
Yeah.
and the
I
location
just
and
I
all
find
that.
it interesting. I talked to a guy recently. It didn't work out for other reasons, but he wasn't as religious, and he was like, "Yeah, like I'm very open-minded to things, but the one thing I can't get past is the separate seating in the synagogue." And I'm like, "That's gonna be your hill to die on?" Like, I'm like, "It's actually nice. Like I love going into shul and yapping with the girls. Like, I don't care." Also, like, the amount that I'm in shul for, like, shul, like, I'm trying to go for kiddush to socialize, but I just you
Well,
just
there are
reminded me of
shuls in
it.
Baltimore, nothing that I would go to, but I've been to shuls in Baltimore where there's a mechitza for the kiddush too, where the
Oh,
women are
no.
on one side for the
No way.
kiddush. We
No.
went to a bar mitzvah, a friend of mine's son's bar mitzvah when my kids were growing up, and my daughter wanted something that was on the other side of the room. So I walked on the other side of the room to get it for her.
Mhm.
And guy says, you're on the men's side. I said, yes, but my daughter wants something that is on this side, and I think we're all entitled to everything. And
No,
why
I
is
don't
it
like
such a
that.
big deal in a kiddush?
I don't like that. Like,
Oh, it's awful.
no, I'm trying to, like I wanna be, like, in the modern Orthodox, like, I don't care if there's a mechitza for davening, that's fine,
Right.
but
Mhm.
I don't know, you're going to I like going to socialize.
Yeah, I think
Also,
so
I
too. You
mean,
say you complain about a shidduch crisis, but that may
yeah.
get in the way of men and women meeting each other.
Yeah, it's like separate seating at weddings.
Oh yeah, I hate that. That's been
I hate
talked
that
about a lot. I
too.
hate that.
Yeah, it's like I don't I don't have so many friends who have gotten married who have had separate seating, but it's still interesting, like the ones who have. It's like, why? I had a friend
Crazy.
actually who her and her husband aren't that like yeshivish, but the family members where they were having their like l'chaim after they got engaged were very are
Mhm.
very yeshivish. And so at the engagement party, the men and the women were in separate parts of the house. And it
Yep,
was
I've
so
seen that. I
interesting.
haven't been to things like that before, but I've definitely heard about it. Like I think in Israel, like in the like the one apartment is upstairs from the other apartment.
Yeah,
Very strange.
it was so interesting. And like we had never like as her friends, we hadn't really met so many of his friends. And like we're all like modern. So she's like,
Mhm.
"Oh, let's like, do you want to go meet his friends?" Like they wanted to introduce us to each other, like her good friends and his good friends. And I remember we stood in like the doorway of it was like a separation between like the living room and like the kitchen or something. And we stood in the doorway, and I remember meeting like these boys standing in the doorway. I'm like, this is so weird.
It's very strange. I remember when I was at Neve Yerushalayim, there was a Shabbos table I was at. Now I was like 20 years old at the time, and they had girls from Neve and they had guys from Or Sameach, and we were sitting like across from each other on opposite sides of the table. And the husband and wife left the room for a minute to get something in the kitchen, and so one of the guys, we started talking. Where are you from? Where whatever. Then the husband comes back, sits at the table, clears his throat, and he's like, there's a mechitza at this table for a reason. I'm like, what the heck is wrong with you?
Yeah, it's like so dumb. Like let people I think it's bad. I mean, listen, I don't live in that world, so it's hard for me to judge. But especially when you're trying to get people married, like let them
Mhm.
meet, let them talk. Like yeshiva boys and seminary girls, that's like the perfect opportunity.
And they do meet each other and get married, but they go through a shadchan,
Yeah, I know. I don't like the
which
shad.
is crazy.
I'm very anti shidduch system. I'm very anti shadchans. Um, but like if a friend says that, but I don't I really don't believe in it anymore. Like professionals, quote unquote professionals, like no.
I mean, I can't go to one of these Orthodox shadchans here in Baltimore or in New York or any place else because they would laugh at me. I don't fit the box. You know, someone their contacts are from the ultra Orthodox community and I don't fit. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
Tell them I'm not going to cover my hair. I wear pants. You know, that I don't think that they
Yeah.
meet people like that.
Even like the more modern ones, I think are useless. Also, I find, I mean, we've talked about this in a lot of episodes in the past, so sorry to my listeners if I'm repeating stuff, but I find that they're only there for the boys. Like they're only
Yeah, the
trying
guys
to work
definitely
for the
have the more
guys.
advantage. I don't know
Like
why, but they
they're
do.
not like they will like pressure girls into going out with guys. I don't think they don't give guys that same treatment. Like
I
they
think
will
that could be
they'll
part of why our divorce rate is so high too, because of this
yeah.
pressuring girls to get married, you know, to the wrong
Yeah.
person.
Yeah, and I don't know, like for I don't know. It's it's hard for me to say, but really like at my point in life, like I I only want to get married if it's going to be like to a good person who is like the right guy for me. Like I don't want to just marry some guy just to get married.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, I get it. I'm 31. I only have so long if I want to have kids. Um, well, not if I freeze my eggs, but which I am hopefully, God willing, in the process of trying to do. But yeah, like all of these women feel so much pressure. And I have friends who I think settled and like I just don't want to be that. Like I would rather stay single than feel like I settled.
That's the same thing like with me. I would rather never get, sure, it'd be nice to have an act two, but I would rather not get married again. Because if you're, my husband used to say this, that you can be lonely in a marriage. You can be even
Yeah.
lonelier in a marriage than you can be being single. Because at least I come and go as I please and I do what I want. Yeah, I got to work. One of my kids were in the house. I had to work around their needs. And I still work around my kids' needs to a certain extent. But, you know, I can still come and go as I please and do what I want. If I marry someone, I got to work around his needs. He's got to work around mine. That's true. But, you know, there's give and take. And maybe
Yeah.
I'm not ready to give and take so much. I don't know. But it's
Yeah.
just that I've seen the crazies. And so, you know, you get a crazy is a crazy, you know?
Yeah, and like I don't know, or just not even a crazy, but a guy who's just not going to like add to your happiness.
Exactly. And if they're
Like
going to be more of a burden than anything else.
yeah, like a relationship is always going to be work
Hmm.
and there's always give and take, but I don't know, it should be good too.
Now, I don't
It
know if
should
you've
be
ever
good.
been suggested to somebody who's a lot older, because what I have found is I'll see guys on dating sites and in person and whatever, who are in my age group. They don't want to go out with me because they want someone to have children with them. So you're 60 years old, whatever, and you've never been married or you've never had children. Either you were married, didn't have kids, or you never got married. And you want kids of your own. You don't want to take on somebody else's kids and you don't want to adopt kids. So you want somebody who's going to have kids with you. So, do they really think this woman in their 20s and 30s
No.
wants an old fogey like them in their 50s and 60s and is going to have their kids? I don't
No.
understand it.
No.
They don't
It's
get it.
funny. It's funny because there are some guys and yeah, I apologize
Whereas
again
they could have had me and
if
they would my kids would have welcomed a relationship.
yeah, exactly. I apologize if I've talked about this before on the podcast. There are guys in my community. Like, mind you, I live in a very big young professional community. I mean, there are married couples as well, but like, it's a huge singles community. And I'm 31 now. So sometimes I've occasionally gone to like, not so many like events, but like maybe a Shabbat type of meal or something that's like 30s and 40s. And every time I go, it's so hard for me because, yeah, there are people in their early 30s who I know who are around my age, but there are so many, and it's usually guys, it's not even girls. It's usually guys who are like creeping up on 50 or over 50 and trying to like lie that they're still in their 40s, going and trying to. I think it's like preying on women. Like, guys who are that age, like, no, you're closer to my parents' age than my age. Like, I hardly want to go out with a guy who's over 35. Like, also, in what world do I want to go out with a 50-year-old and have his kids? Like, no thanks.
But
Like,
that's what they expect. And I don't know if the
yeah.
Shadclans are doing this. I don't think so, but I don't know for
I
sure.
mean,
These
they
guys
still
are so
try. I
unrealistic.
see people posting in these Jewish singles groups. It's like, oh, posting for my client. He's a great guy in his 50s, looking for someone in their 30s to like still have kids. And it's like that's gross. Like gross. At some point, you need to accept your fate and that like you wasted. I'm sorry. Like I'm sorry. I'm not. I'm actually not sorry. Like you wasted your 30s, 40s. You wasted your 20s, 30s, 40s and like now you want to have kids? Like where were you 30 years ago?
And you know what?
Like
The person who's never married and didn't get to have kids, and they can marry someone who has kids and
yeah.
develop a really meaningful relationship. And in my case, my husband passed away. It's not like their dad is like the ex-husband and you're competing. You know, you could have had a really meaningful relationship with my kids, but you chose to say, no, I want the younger woman
Yeah, and these
who
younger
doesn't
women, I
want
mean,
you.
listen, like what I shouldn't say never. Like if he's a billionaire then maybe. But like I there's no world that I want to date a guy who's that much older than me. Like
Hmm.
and again, I say no to guys who are like 36, 37. Like,
Hmm.
why would I be wanting to go out with a guy who's like 47, 57?
Hmm.
Like, I'd rather go out with a 27-year-old than a 37-year-old.
Right.
Like I don't want to date an old guy. Like
Hmm.
what? Like
I mean, I would say 10 years, maybe 11, 12 years at the most, like older or younger than me, because more than that, it's like another generation. It's like you're not
yeah.
really talking about the same things.
Yeah, and I've had that with guys who are like I don't know, 4 or 5 years older than me. Like I don't know, as women we're told to date older. And I don't like dating older. I honestly, I prefer dating guys who are within like 2-ish years of my own age, like 2, 3 years of my own
Younger or
age.
older.
Yeah, younger or older, like 2, 3 years within my own age, because like we can relate better and like 2, 3 years like doesn't matter.
And this
Like
fixation on height is ridiculous too. I don't care if the guy is shorter. That's nonsense. But
I'm
yet
short,
there's so
so I
many
don't have that
people who
problem.
really Although I did date a short guy when I was in college. I was fixed up. And maybe if it had been it was a little bit awkward because he was a lot shorter than I was, but had it been the right relationship, had we really connected well, then maybe it would have been fine, you know. And certainly at my stage, if that was the only thing about the guy was he was a little bit shorter, I wouldn't care.
Yeah. No,
Um,
I hear that. I mean, if a guy's shorter than me, he's probably like there's probably something wrong with him.
well, how short
But
are you?
I'm 5'2".
Oh, who cares? You know, my son
Yeah.
is 6'2". So maybe that, although I did go to a wedding like that once where the girl was really, really short and the guy was really tall. So it was funny seeing them walk together. But you know what? That's just, you connect with one another, the height. You can't do
Yeah.
anything about a lot of
It
things
means
with
their
height.
kids have a chance of being tall. Like, I don't know. My thing is I don't really care about height because I don't like wearing heels and
Oh,
even
I'm not
Jewish
wearing
guys,
heels.
even Jewish guys are really not usually shorter than me. Like I met a couple
Mhm.
guys who are like my height maybe, but like even guys who are like I have guy friends who are like quote unquote short. I mean, they are short, but and they'll say they're short, but like they're taller than me. Like all of them are taller than me.
Mhm.
So for me, height doesn't really matter. A lot of I feel like people place importance on things that really don't matter in the
Mhm.
grand scheme of life. But age is like it's crazy that like these guys who are like in your dating pool are trying to date in like mine.
It's crazy. And I want a guy in my age group because, I want to talk about what life was like in the 70s. I want to talk about
Yeah.
life pre-internet, pre-technology, whatever. So a guy who's way younger won't get that, and a guy who's like way, way older is not going to get what I went through in the 60s and 70s growing up. And
Yeah,
I just like
exactly.
so, and I think you would want someone who can relate to what you were growing up in. I guess you're a considered millennial.
Yeah, I'm a
So you want
millennial.
someone who can you're my kid's age. So my
Yeah.
daughter's a little bit older than you. My son is about your age. maybe a year or two younger than you. So yeah, I mean, I get that. And they should be with people in their age group, and I should be with people in my age group just because you have more in common. It's just something that you can talk about things and relate to a lot more. That's, what I think. But of course, the
Yeah.
main thing is that both people have to be thinking about one another, and it can't be all one-sided. It can't be that one side is doing all the giving and one side is just like, it's all about them and they expect the other person to do everything for them and just work around them. And I
Yeah.
don't know if shadchans are giving women that message that they have to like do everything because this is what the man wants.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't really talk to Shad Khans, but I know in society, like women are pressured to like do all these things. And there
Mhm.
are like new studies coming out where women are becoming more and more independent and they don't want to do everything. Like,
Mhm.
if I am making my own salary, why do I want to come home and do all your housework?
Right.
Like the free, quote unquote, free labor.
And I wouldn't want to stop working for a guy because
No,
what if he says, "Well, I have a lot of money, I can take care of you." Okay, well, what if the marriage doesn't work out? And then we
exactly.
get divorced and I've given up my working and now it's going to be harder for me as an older person to get back into the work world. So I'm
Mhm.
not going to stop working because I need to protect myself in case the marriage doesn't work out.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had these conversations before. And I mean, there are ways of protecting yourself. And like
Hmm.
at the end of the day, in a relationship, you figure out what's going to work
Hmm.
for each individual. Like, I've never thought of myself to want to be a stay-at-home mom. Like, I just
I
can't
used to
do
want to be
that.
that way because I hated my job so much. But now I realize that that's not really where it's at.
Yeah, but also like I don't have kids yet. Like I have friends who were very like into their career and then they have kids and they're like, I wish I could be home with my kid. So
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
don't
I mean,
know.
you want to spend as much time with your kids as you possibly can. So,
Yeah,
it doesn't mean you have to totally be out of the work world. You could work
no.
part-time, you could take a maternity leave. That's what I did. I mean, I took a leave and then I went back, and it just kind of happened when my daughter was a baby. My husband had lost his job, and I went back to work, and he was Mr. Mom for a few months, and he loved it. He was amazing. He was far better organized than I ever would have been. He would pack up the diaper bag to take her to the park, and he had a list: diapers, wipes, change of clothes. I never did anything like that. I just kind of threw it all together, and he knew exactly. So I think he did an amazing job. So, sometimes you just got to do
Yeah.
what's going to be working.
Yeah, everyone figures out what works for them. So it's like nobody should go in with an expectation like, oh no, my wife isn't going to work or my
Mhm.
spouse isn't going to work. They're going to stay home with the kid. It's like, no, everyone needs to bring equal contributions to the table. Like we're all adults. Like in one of your first stories when you said you went out with a guy who's in his 50s, never been married, he doesn't know how to cook. Like, what do you eat? Like if you don't cook, like what does that mean you don't cook? Like,
Well, in Baltimore, you can get a lot of ready-made stuff. Probably in New York, I'm sure you can too.
yeah,
Kosher
I mean you
ready-made stuff.
can, but like
But don't you want to
I
cook?
no, it like my
I
whole
don't have a lot
thing.
of time to cook, but yeah.
Yeah, when I first like moved into an apartment by myself, I'm not about like not living with my parents or like in a college dorm. It's like, okay, if I want to eat good food, I have to make it. Like, if you're
Hmm.
getting takeout all the time, number one, that adds up in cost. Number two, it's like you don't know what's in the takeout, and like it's fine to do it once in a while, but like if you want to eat like good food with the proper, like getting all your proper nutrients in, it's like, how hard is it to make a piece of chicken and some vegetables and some rice? Like, everybody should be able to know how to do that.
Yeah, just do something simple. I mean, I'll stir fry vegetables, I'll make an
Yeah, but
omelet, whatever, veggie patties.
it's just like crazy to me that these guys like I don't like it. I mean, I've encountered guys like that too. Younger, but like I've encountered it too. But like a guy in his 50s who doesn't know how to cook, like, come on.
Well, maybe he
Learn
knows
how
how
to
but
take
chooses
care of
not to.
yourself.
I mean, I get invited out a lot for Shabbos, and a lot of people unfortunately won't eat in my house. They don't trust my kashrus because I wear pants and read Torah in the egalitarian shul. You know what? It's their loss.
Yeah, they're
I
lost.
save some money. You want to do the cooking, that's fine. But
Yeah.
so sometimes I'm a little out of practice with cooking. So I finally decided it was hard to get, since COVID, it's just been harder to get a lot of invitations. And walking back Friday night, I don't want to walk back late at night. So I decided, you know what? It's time for me to start cooking. And I started inviting people who were either not from or who were, out of the box like me.
Hmm.
And I've had so much fun. I mean, now I'm going to take a break from it because it's getting close to Pesach and I got to change my house around. And I'm
Yeah.
finally haven't hosted a Seder for close to 30 years. I'm going to host the
Oh,
first Seder.
wow. Oh, that's so
And that's a
nice.
big deal. So my house is like, I'm bringing boxes up from downstairs and all that. But I feel good that I'm going to do, even if it's a total, even if the food isn't so great, I'll probably get a lot of ready-made stuff. But I think it'll just be fun to be able to do it
Yeah.
the way I want to do it.
No,
And the second
100%.
Seder I'll have out, but I'll have it out by somebody who's more modern. I've already worked that out with, somebody more modern. And I also have other people if that doesn't work out for some reason. So, I just think you have to realize your comfort level. And it's also just so awkward to be at these Shabbos tables where they're so frum and they're so formal. And I'm also very
Yeah.
picky about what I eat because as I'm getting older, I can't do spicy. I get heartburn. So sometimes I'm just sitting there and there's nothing I can eat at the Shabbos meal. So that's frustrating too.
Yeah.
Some things I also would like to mention is people should be very aware for red flags. Like certainly anybody you want to do your research if somebody was divorced, the get refuser kind of thing. But if you go out to eat or you go out to any kind of store or whatever, or any kind of recreation, watch how that person treats the service people. How
Yeah.
is treating the waiter or waitress? How are they being nice to them or are they demeaning to that person, thinking that that person, oh, they're just in the helping profession, they're just a clerk, they're just a waiter, waitress, whatever it is. I watch how they are treating that person because that speaks volumes about their character.
Yeah, I agree. And I personally, I mean, anytime I go out, I try to be polite to my servers, to anybody who's like helping me out, and I try to make sure to say thank you. But it's interesting because when you start paying attention to what other people are doing, you also start paying attention to like what you're doing.
Hmm.
And I don't know, I think since I started dating and paying attention to that, I really have been paying attention to what I do also. And it's
Mm.
always good. I mean, thanking people and being polite and kind and having good manners are always important. Um, but it's good to like make sure that you're doing it also.
Also,
So,
anyone who tries to isolate you from your family and friends. It's like maybe they'll be willing to meet your family or friends, but they get together and they won't talk to their family or friends, and they don't want you to get together with your family and friends. Don't
yeah, that's a
spend
red
time with
flag.
your family, spend time with me. You don't need to be with your family. You've got me. Okay, well, can I meet your family? No, you don't want to meet my family. And where are your friends? Oh, really the guy may not have any friends or he may not be close with them, but he doesn't want
That's
to
a red
share you with
flag
his
too, by the
friends.
way. I think it's a red flag when somebody doesn't have friends
Oh, very much of a red
because,
flag. Or they don't want to introduce you to the friends because maybe he's
yeah,
got some friends on the side and maybe some of those friends are single women. Who knows?
yeah.
And
But
maybe
I
they're not.
think
Who knows? Maybe he's gay on the side. What do I know?
it could be. No, I think it's a red flag. Like if a man or a woman, if somebody doesn't have friends, it's like that means they can't like a friendship is a very different type of relationship, but like if somebody can't keep friends, like that's a red flag that they can't like keep a relationship. And it's also like when you're in a relationship, you want like yeah, you're in a relationship. It's the two of you. Like that's supposed to be the most important person to you. But if somebody doesn't have friends, they have nothing else going on in their life aside from
Right.
you. And like, and again, like what you were saying, it's a red flag if they try to isolate you, make you feel bad for having friends.
Yeah.
And
And family too. If you want to be close with your
yeah,
family, that's a major red flag if they don't want to talk to you. Assuming your family is normal people. If your family's a
yeah,
bunch of ex murderers, that's a different story. But
yeah,
assuming like, everybody's a normal, not everybody, okay, everybody's got their mishigas, but
yeah,
that they can come to a family event and they can talk to family members. They can meet your aunts and uncles and cousins or whatever, or your kids, your whatever, your parents, if you're younger, the parents, if you're older, your kids, someone who is willing to meet those people and to just socialize and say hello. And I'm not saying you want the family and friends to move in with you. Obviously, you need some time together as a couple. But if they're trying to monopolize your time and isolate you, that is a major, major red flag.
Yeah, I agree. Wait, Hannah, before we continue, I know we're a little overdue for a
Oh,
break.
yeah, you got to
Let's
do
take a
your break.
quick break to hear a word from our sponsors, and we will be right back.
Sticky Situations is sponsored by Corona Crush. Are you tired of swiping on dating apps? Tired of guessing whether the cute guy or girl you keep seeing around is Jewish and or single? Then you need to run, not walk to join Corona Crush. Corona Crush is a Jewish organization working to create Jewish couples always. Corona Crush has over 30 confirmed engagements, over 22,000 members from all over the world, and has set up over 50,000 speed dates. Join the Corona Crush Facebook group and post yourself or have a friend post you and see who reaches out. Fill out the survey to sign up for virtual speed dating events happening every other week. Corona Crush is 100% free and 100% Jewish. Worst case, you end up with some stories of your own. Best case, you find the love of your life. Try it out today. Here on Sticky Situations, we tend to focus on bad dating stories, but sometimes dates do go well and lead to proposals and weddings. Who would have thought? And what do all of those require, you might be asking? Well, the answer is flowers. Who doesn't want flowers from someone they've been seeing? Don't forget, flower petals and bouquets needed for proposals. And that's even before all the flowers that go into weddings. Sticky Situations is sponsored by Primrose Flower Shop. In my opinion, Primrose is the coolest flower shop around and has the best customer service to fulfill all of your floral needs. Primrose offers a range of services from your basic bouquets to subscription services where you can get flowers delivered once a week. They deliver all over the tri state area, including Manhattan. Primrose does weddings, bar and bat mitzvahs, and other simchas. I've personally been to a wedding where Primrose did the flowers, and the work they did was beyond gorgeous. Primrose additionally offers in store proposals, including a romantic setup with candles and music. Primrose is located at 2922 Avenue M in Brooklyn, and the phone number is 929 376 9815. You can also follow Primrose on Instagram at PrimroseNY. So, if you can't get someone out of your head, buy them some flowers from Primrose. They'll either love it or they'll find you really creepy. But regardless, the flowers will be out of this world.
Okay, we're back, everybody. Hannah, I wanted to ask you, of course, if you have more stories and insights, like I want to hear them, but I want to just go back really far back to the beginning and just ask you more. You said that you met your late husband because he called the apartment that you were subletting in,
Mhm.
and for the girl who had lived there
Right.
who was away for the summer. So how did that develop into you getting married?
Oh,
Like
it
how
was very cute. I mean, we started out as just friends. We were neighbors in the apartment building. We had these mailboxes. It was called a hotel, even though it was people in apartments.
Mhm.
And so a few days after that conversation, I think he had left a note in my mailbox. And then that Shabbos, he came over in the afternoon. I was either sleeping or not home. And my roommate had told me that the guy came. So after Shabbos, I called him and I said, "Oh, it was so nice. I'm sorry I wasn't available." And then he asked me, this was in the days before you had all these fancy sneakers. Everybody just had those Keds. And he asked me if I wanted to go jogging in Riverside Park. And that was just becoming a thing. Nobody really, that wasn't a thing yet. And I said, okay, I didn't really know how to do that, but I said, okay. So we did that and we talked a little bit. And then, I think I invited him for a shot. No, what happened was his roommate had a Shabbos meal at his apartment on a Friday night, and he wanted to, mix and match. And he knew that that Craig was interested in me, so he invited me, and he invited like two other guys and two other whatever. He had six people, three men and three women, and they sat us together and whatever. And we had these conversations, and they were talking about these singles weekends they were going to go to for Labor Day weekend, and I was not financially, I couldn't afford these weekends, and I really didn't have any interest in going to them. And I said, I've never been to one of them and I don't want to go to one of them. And they're all looking at me, Really? You don't go to a singles weekend? My husband had gone to them when he was, still single guy, but he went to a different kind. He would go to the ones where it was more of an activity, like at a summer camp or something like that. But he still went to events. I didn't even go to events. And then, so we started talking about that. And then, Craig said to me, "Really? How come you don't go to singles events?" So we started talking. And then somehow the other four people were in their world talking about their things. And the two of us, we moved on to a million other topics and we were just having our own conversation. So I could kind of tell that something was here. And he
Yeah.
kept like, reaching out to me. Did I want to join him for this activity? And we went to this, we didn't really go out on a formal date right away, but that's Sukkot. We met in August. So that's Sukkot. He went to he had a friend out of town and he went to his friend's parents for the Yontif, for the first days of Sukkot. And so the friend's mother said, "So Craig, you dating anyone?" And, "Well, there's this woman in my building, and we've gotten together. We went jogging together. We had a couple Shabbos meals. So have you gone on a date? What's wrong with you, Craig? If you like this woman, you better go on a date with her." So then he contacts me, and we actually went on it. We went to the opera, and we got
Oh, wow.
shushed out of there because we kept talking instead of watching the opera. Because neither one of us really cared too much about opera. And
Yeah.
so we got shushed a little bit, so we left. We went to these piano bars. They still have those on the Upper West Side. They were like piano, but somebody would be playing a piano and it would just
I
be
don't
really
know.
nice. You would sit and have a drink and someone would entertain you with these piano playing. I don't know if they
I'm
still
sure
have
there are some
like
somewhere.
Amsterdam Avenue or Broadway or something.
I
I
don't
don't
know. I'm gonna
remember
have
the
to look it
names of
up.
these
I don't think
places.
I've ever been to one,
Maybe they
but
don't exist. I don't
it
know.
sounds like no, I feel like I've heard of piano bars. I just don't know
We
where
went
they
to
are anymore.
museums, things like that. And it just kind of developed. And then this was funny. I invited him to come for a Friday night Shabbos meal. I think I had my roommates and some other friends over. And I asked him if he would give a Devar Torah. So this was funny. He said, "Well, can my friend Jay come, a friend from out of town or whatever?" So I said, "Sure." So then comes time for the Devar Torah. He goes, I'm not so good at this, but my friend, he can do it. So his friend gives us Devar Torah. It was very nice, and then we started talking. And then one by one, everybody just started leaving, and then we started talking to the wee hours, It
Oh,
was
wow.
it was just, it just kind of developed. It started out as just being friends, and then it became a real relationship.
And then how long until he proposed?
It was interesting the way he didn't really formally propose. People would say, like, "Why did you allow it to happen that way?" We were visiting my sister. My sister at that time was living in Baltimore. She's still in Baltimore, but we kind of travel in different circles. We went to a shul for Mincha, and it was in between Mincha and Mariv. And we sat like near the coat room. There were these, I don't know, we just wanted to sit and schmooze or something. And I don't know, suddenly he started talking about building a home together. And we just started talking. He goes, "Did I just ask you to marry me? And did you just say you would?" And I said, "Yeah, I guess we did." So we didn't want to
Wow.
officially get engaged until we actually had things together. And we sort of, instead of him, like, the tradition is, we didn't really know from traditions and stuff like that. You're supposed to ask the girl's parents, is it okay? We didn't know from things like that. And we just started talking to my parents together about it. And it just kind of, they were very happy with the whole idea. And, it just, and then I hear these stories about how the guy is supposed to give the girl in the yichud room some gift. I never heard of that. We didn't do that. I never heard of it.
I
We
don't
just
know.
didn't do things according to these formalities because I didn't know they existed.
Yeah, I don't really know all the formalities either.
And I don't think it matters. You
No.
get married, whether you do the formalities or you don't do them. If it's awkward, it's awkward. We probably should have done it where he would ask my parents, because my dad, I remember mentioning, well, the proper thing to do is to ask the parents. And like, I didn't know that. I didn't have any previous experience. Nobody told me these things. But I don't think it really
Yeah.
matters. But, I was a little bit wary because some of my siblings had broken engagements before they met the right one. And I didn't want to be another one having a broken engagement. And I kind of like, let's hold off a little bit and get to know each other a little bit more before we start talking about marriage. So
Yeah.
it was a year between when we met and when we actually got married. So I'd say we got engaged after about 9 months and then married, a year later.
Oh,
So
wow.
altogether a year.
Did you
from
stay in the
dating.
same building after you got married?
No, we didn't, couldn't afford it. He was, now he didn't tell me this when he first met me, and apparently they don't do this anymore, but this was 1979. He was at Columbia. I shudder to think about all the anti-Semitism
Yeah.
that's going on there because he got his master's degree. I think he got two master's degrees there, and he got his doctorate from Columbia Teachers College. And when we first met in August of 79, and he knew he really liked me, he put a deposit down for married student housing for the following year. I don't know how he was able to do that, but I don't
Wow.
know how he did that. And when we were talking about where we were going to live, he said, well, as a matter of fact, I put a deposit on married student housing. I don't know what would he have done if I'd said no, I didn't want to marry it. I guess he would have just given it up to somebody else. I don't know.
Yeah.
But but I shudder to think about how we the first year and a half we were married, we lived on West 122nd Street, this building called Grant Hall. It was married student housing for Columbia students. So we
Wow.
didn't like the neighborhood. It was a terrible neighborhood back then. They've since gentrified it, I guess. It was down the street, like across the street and down the block from JTS, from Jewish Theological Seminary. And we went to the old Broadway show. I don't know if that's still around. It was Rabbi Kret, but he's since
I'm not
passed
sure.
away. It was a terrible neighborhood. We didn't use the subway station over there. We used the one on 116th. But
Oh,
now, if
wow.
I were to get off the subway on 116th Street and walk past Columbia, would I still be alive by the time I got to my apartment on 122nd Street? I mean, if my husband could come alive today and see what's going on at Columbia, it's very scary. So
Yeah, I
I think
mean,
about that a
I
lot.
I try to stay away, so I
Smart.
don't,
Yeah, stay away from there.
but I've seen
And then
videos.
we wanted to get out of New York really badly because the neighborhood was terrible. So we had friends who were living in Passaic, and that was before Passaic was what it was now. At that time, they didn't have an eruv or a mikveh or anything. We were a
Oh,
young
wow.
married couple, so we lived in Passaic for about 3 years, and then we moved to Aberdeen, New Jersey. It was also called Mattawan. We were there for about 5 years. And then we moved to, because we were in the New York, New Jersey area because of jobs and school, but we really wanted
Hmm.
to get out of that New York, New Jersey area. And then we moved to Highland Park, which we really loved, but we knew we could never afford any more than our dumpy apartment. We lived in two different apartments in Highland Park, but we really wanted, and when my husband had to change jobs again, he geared his job search outside of the New York area, and we were so thrilled when he landed in Baltimore. And then, my sister is here and my brother was not that far away. So, it was really nice. And now I've been in Baltimore since 1996 and it's been great. It's a wonderful community. Even though it's a little more black hat than I would like it to be, it's
Yeah.
still a wonderful community and everybody here has been so good to us. So
Yeah.
I can't complain.
Do you think you would have an easier time dating if you weren't in Baltimore?
Maybe, maybe not. I'm not willing to, even if I could afford it, I would not want to go back to New York.
Yeah.
I'm just not willing to spend all this money to live in a tiny apartment. I mean, I think about what these apartments on the Upper West Side cost, and my mortgage and condo fee are less than are like half of what you guys pay for a closet of an apartment. I'm just
Yeah.
not willing to do that.
Yeah, you don't want to know what I pay for my apartment.
You want to know how little I paid in 1979? I had a one-bedroom apartment, so it was a living room, dining room, like one room with a little tiny kitchen
Oh,
area,
wow.
and a bedroom that had three beds in it. So it was
So,
400 stuff.
wait, you had roommates and you
I
all
had two
shared the
roommates. It
bedroom.
was one bedroom, two room. It was one
Oh my
bedroom,
God.
but it was a big bedroom. So there were three beds in it, but it was a large bedroom, and the bathroom was like off of the bedroom. So there were three beds in it, and there was a living room, dining room, and a kitchen, and the rent was $475. So we
Total
each
or
paid like yeah
each?
total. So we each paid
Wow,
150. And we're talking 1979. Now, granted, it's three
it's
girls sharing
crazy.
a room. It's not like we
Yeah,
have
I
our own
was
room.
gonna
So
say,
that
I
was a little bit, but it was a big room. It wasn't a
I
tiny
have friends.
still.
I have friends. I mean, I lived in Washington Heights for a little while after college because that's where all my friends lived. And I had friends who like shared rooms.
Oh
I
yeah,
was like,
my son lived in the Heights.
once I graduated college, I was like, I'm never sharing a room. I am an adult. I have a job. I need my own room. I need my own privacy. So I could not imagine sharing a room with two other
It was
girls.
awkward, and there were times that we really didn't get along as well. Unfortunately, I found out that both of them had passed away, so I am
Oh,
the sole
wow.
survivor. One of them was really sad. I don't know what year this was. We lost, they came to my wedding, but one of them, I think, committed suicide. The other one
Oh,
I
wow.
heard died of cancer at a young age. I don't know how old she was, but she died of cancer at a relatively young age.
It's
So
very
I feel
sad.
very guilty now that I see that I'm the only survivor of that apartment. Like I could have been nicer to those two girls.
Yeah. I mean, you live and you learn.
Yeah. And I
So,
mean, I think with my husband dying as young as he did, I think people should really realize that life is short. And when
mhm.
families, siblings don't talk to one another because they have some kind of grudge, and they should realize that life is just too short for that.
Yeah, for sure. You never know what's going to happen and everything
Hmm.
is so unexpected.
Hmm.
So,
So.
don't take it for granted, everybody.
Yeah, for sure. Do not take life for granted. And that's another thing. If a guy talks about, like the guys with the ex-wives, if they talk
Mhm.
about the grudges they have with the ex-wife, let it go. You're not married to that person anymore.
Mhm.
Wish them well, Gesundheit, goodbye. But you don't need to tell the next person about how evil that ex-wife, even unless they
Yeah.
were a murderer, they're in jail for murdering or something
Yeah.
like that, which they're not. So maybe you got divorced because you just couldn't live together for whatever reason. I remember this one divorce guy talked about how his wife gained a lot of weight when they were married, and she was very, very overweight, not very attractive, blah, blah, blah. And then the divorce it takes a while for the divorce to get finalized, and they're signing off the papers. The divorce is final, and she looks gorgeous now. So how come she didn't look? And I'm thinking in my head, you know what? This is why I didn't say this to him. She gained all that weight because she was so stressed out being married to you. And then she was
Yeah,
finally free of you. She was able to lose. I didn't say that to him, but that's what I was thinking.
probably why.
But yeah, I mean, you need to think about things like that if you're going to go into that next relationship, without complaining. And of course, it's easy for me to say I haven't been divorced. There's plenty of things that my late husband and I did not agree on that we would fight about and whatever. But I certainly would not take that to the next relationship.
No. Yeah, it's wild like what some people like feel comfortable enough saying,
Hmm.
especially like on an early date, but it's honestly a blessing in disguise. Not even in
Hmm.
disguise if when they show their colors like that on like a first second date.
Hmm.
It's like, okay, thanks for not wasting too much of my time.
I mean, sometimes like you can weed them out on the phone, like that guy with the furniture. And one
Yeah.
guy was a librarian, and he was saying that he resented that people would ask him for help with the computers because they should know how to do this already. Excuse me, you are hired to help with that. This is why they're
Yeah.
paying you a salary. And his son is a no good Nick because he won't shovel the snow, and the weather is this, and everything is a complaint. And then every other sentence is, I don't know this, I don't know that. I was like, this is really strange.
Yeah, that is really strange.
But I want to share with you one of the crazies of the crazies.
Okay.
This was,
Let's
I
hear
think,
it.
this is before COVID. This was, I think, in 2019. And a friend of mine fixed me up with a guy, and I remember that he was dating someone else for a while, and that person had since made Aliyah or whatever. So I figured, okay. So we were, texting, and this was before we actually went on a date. And I remember I had jury duty, and jury duty in Baltimore is kind of boring in Baltimore City. I don't know what it's like in New York, but I remember sitting in the quiet room in the jury duty assembly room, and he's texting me, and I was just having a grand old time texting. I'm thinking this is going to be really fun to date him, right? So we were supposed to go out that Sunday afternoon. And this was like Thursday. I had the jury duty or whatever. And so that Sunday after, so that Friday, he just shows up unannounced, and he brings me some cantaloupe from his neighbors, whatever. And I wasn't expecting him. I don't know what he would have done if I hadn't been home. So we talked for a little bit, and then he left. And then Sunday afternoon, he tells me that we were supposed to meet somewhere. And he tells me to meet him. I don't know why he wanted me to meet him at Panera Bread, which is not a kosher place. And his son was going to be there too. Who brings their son to a first date? That was really strange.
Yeah.
But he wanted me to just talk to his son a little bit too. And he said, my son's going to be there and then he's going to leave. Okay, fine. I'll talk for a few minutes to your son. So we didn't get anything to eat over there, but I guess the son did. The son's not from. So we were talking and everything. And then the son leaves. And then he said, I want to show you this place in Owings Mills, Maryland. I think it's called Soldier's Delight. It's supposed to be very pretty. Problem is, he was late. He wasn't ready when he said he would be ready. And he said, don't come yet, come at this time, whatever. So it's already getting late. It's like August. And it's starting to get dark at like 8 o'clock. And he wants to show me this place. It's like some kind of outside place in nature. And the son leaves, and I said, okay, where am I meeting you now? He goes, oh, I'm gonna ride with you. I'm thinking, oh, either he doesn't have a car or his son dropped him off. I didn't quite understand it, but fine. So he's telling me how to drive to the city, and I see it's starting to get dark, and I'm getting a little nervous because some of these roads are not very well lit. And I'm getting really, I said, how much further down? Oh, we're almost there. And we get there and it's almost dark outside. How am I supposed to see this? And we walk a little bit and he's like, and he sees that I'm a little bit unsteady because I can't see where I'm going. Are you
Yeah.
always this unsteady when you walk? I'm like, the hell is wrong with you? I can't see. And so we walk a little bit. He shows me some field or something. And he goes, look at this beautiful field. And all I'm seeing is a bunch of weeds. I said, this looks
Oh
like
my
weeds
gosh.
to me. Oh, it's only weeds if it's in your backyard. It's not weeds if it's here.
What the heck?
What are you talking about? And then finally I had to say, it's really time. We have to get back to the car. I can't see where I'm going. And also, it's like 8 o'clock at night. I met him at 5 o'clock or something, and I'm thinking we're going to go out to dinner. I figured
Yeah.
after we met the son, we would go out somewhere to dinner. And instead, we're seeing this. Okay, it's a decent place. It would have been nicer in the daylight. I said, okay, where to now? Oh, you're going to take me home. So, okay, I took him home. I couldn't wait to get out of that dark area. Driving back was very scary. We finally get to where it's a little bit lighter, and I drop him off at home. And then my friend said, how did the date go? So I said, I'll call you. And I told her the whole thing. She was so
Oh my
shocked.
gosh.
And then the next day he's texting me like this never happened, as though everything went great. Oh, do you like to go to movies? Would you like to see such and such movie? I'm thinking, I'm never going out on a date with
No.
you again. I'm done.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's one thing to like take like a walk or something on a date, but he made you drive. He didn't like take you anywhere. Like,
And it would have been
what
nice
part
if
of
he told me. If you didn't have a car, that's fine, but tell me that.
yeah. That's so weird.
And to have your son meet me on the first date, that's a little weird too.
Yeah. Like maybe that was the only way he could get the son to drive him
Maybe,
anywhere
but I
was
would have
like if
met
he
him
went where
somewhere
this
else.
or if he went where the sun was going. I mean, like if he would have just told you, then like maybe you could have picked him up and then it's like, okay, let's go to a restaurant.
Yeah, if
Like,
he said, I don't have a car, do you mind picking me up? I would have been happy to do that.
I mean, I would have seen that as a red flag,
Well, maybe he
but
did have a car, but maybe the son needed the car. I don't know. But all he had to do
I
was
don't
just
know.
say so.
It's so weird. I mean, I'm one to talk. I don't have a car either, but I live in the
Well, you
city.
live in New York. You don't want a car in New
Yeah.
York. It's
Yeah, no,
liability.
if a guy in New York City doesn't have a car, that's like
That's
one
okay.
thing. If he lives out of the city and he's like, "Oh, I don't have a car." Like, why? How do you get places?
Mm.
Like, unless you live somewhere that it's like normal to not have a car,
Hmm.
like, why don't you have a car?
It's also at my age, I'm not that comfortable riding in a car with the guy because, for safety, well, even for younger, it's just safety reasons. You have to make
Oh,
sure you
yeah,
trust the
same.
guy.
Same. I don't usually like getting in a guy's car unless like I think he's not going to murder me, but
Hmm.
I always take a picture
Also,
of
if
their
you're going to
license
pick up
plate.
somebody in a car, make sure your car's clean.
Yes.
Clean your
Yes.
damn car. One guy picks me up in his car and there's a banana on the passenger seat.
Ew, like
Thank God I
a
saw it before I
peel
sat
or
down.
like a whole banana?
I can't remember. It might have been half peeled or something. I don't remember.
Ew.
I didn't
If
sit
it's
down
like a
on it,
whole
thank God.
banana, fine. If it's a whole banana, fine. Snack for later, whatever. But like, ew, if it's garbage,
Or if your windshield is full of bird droppings, clean it off before you pick up
yeah,
I mean,
gross.
yeah, I had that too, like bird droppings. And I said to him, you want me to bring you some Windex? We'll get the car wind. No, I'll just do this when I get home. I mean,
Ew.
just have a little class. And also, when you go on a date, can you, like, we make a lot of effort, the hair, I don't do that much makeup, but put on a nice outfit, whatever. And I did that for a date, and the guy shows up looking really schlumpy. Shorts and a shirt with a polo shirt with a stain and looking like, and I've got a Shabbos dress on, and put a little effort into it.
Hmm.
I'm not saying
Yeah.
you got to have a three-piece suit on, but just put a little effort into your appearance.
No, I had a guy, I went on 2 dates with him. The second date, he was dressed a little bit nicer, but for our first date, he was wearing like a t-shirt. Like, I was in a dress. I put on a dress. He was
Hmm.
wearing a t-shirt and like he wasn't wearing like night. He was wearing pants, but I don't remember what kind of pants they were. They weren't nice looking. And
Hmm.
then he was wearing sneakers, but they weren't like nice sneakers. Like sometimes I'll wear sneakers, but they're like nicer. And he was
Hmm.
wearing a baseball cap. And then after the whole thing ended, I told the friend who set it up about it. And he was like, "Oh, he said he was wearing a baseball cap because he's afraid of anti-Semitism in the city." And I was like,
In a
what
way,
are
I
you
get that.
talking? Okay, but like everybody, like I don't know. So okay, put the baseball cap in your pocket, like on the date. Like it's weird to show up at a night. Like we went to a nice bar on the first date. Like you shouldn't be wearing a baseball cap. Like, sir,
Yeah, I
I'm
guess
wearing
in a
a
nice bar.
dress.
Hmm.
I'm wearing a dress and I'm wearing shoes that aren't sneakers. Like you should be looking nice as well. So then for
Hmm.
the second date, I didn't try as hard. And then we only went on 2 dates, and I was like, he didn't dress up, and I didn't like that. Like, I put in such an effort. I'm like, I put on makeup. I wore shoes that weren't sneakers to walk like 15 blocks from my apartment. Like, I walked those in flats. Yeah, you could wear nicer like you could look nicer also.
And I don't care, like the sneakers I'm wearing a lot now too, because I have a hard shoe size to fit. And I just, as you get older, the sneakers become more of a regular thing. But the
Yeah.
rest, I mean, the sneakers should be clean, they should be neat,
Yeah.
and your
I have
clothes should
nice
look good, and you
sneakers.
should look good.
I have nice sneakers that I wear to my office. Like it's New
Hmm.
York, like I live in New York City.
I'm
A
sure
lot of
everybody's
people
wearing sneakers in New
Yeah, a
York.
lot of people wear sneakers of some sort because like you when you live in New York City, you do so much walking. Like
Oh, you
just like
do, for sure.
day to day, like
Yep.
walking to the subway and to the office and to errands and everything. But yeah, no, I don't like it when they don't dress up. That's
Hmm.
awful. But yeah. Okay, Hannah, before we get to our wrap up segment, do you have any other stories, insights, anything that you want to share?
Let me think. I would say pay attention to red flags. One time I was dating a guy and I realized we were standing outside on a windy night. And as I was talking to him, I realized this guy is just not going to be right for me. And in my head, I saw a literal red flag flying in the wind. It was just, I had this vision. And if you notice something that's a red flag, take that seriously. Don't try to brush it aside, no matter what any shotgun tells you. And whatever baggage somebody has, it's only going to get bigger as they get older. So learn, if you can't deal with that baggage, then, deal with that. And also, if a guy never wants to admit that he's wrong, that is a major red flag. Whatever it is that he might be wrong about, I mean, you should also admit when you're wrong about something. I remember my late husband would talk about, oh, maybe we misjudged this person. Maybe this is a nice person. Maybe I misjudged them. Maybe I made a mistake. And if a guy is never willing to admit that he's wrong, that's also a major red flag. So pay attention to what's going on,
Yeah, those are
and just trust
good
your gut.
insights. Those are good insights. Okay, so I guess we'll go to our wrap-up segment. I know
Okay.
you just gave a bit of advice, but Hannah, and we've been saying advice throughout, but Hannah, can you give me and my listeners one piece of dating advice?
I would say realize everything is Gamzula Tova. Everything is this is for the best. You may have had a very painful relationship. You may have been really close with someone and then it didn't work out. Maybe he ended it, maybe you ended it, maybe you found out something about each other that just was a deal breaker, and realize that this is what was meant to be, that you had to have this experience because this was going to prepare you for the next experience. And some of the most painful things that we have in our lives are preparing us for other things. So always realize that this is for the best. Whatever it is, just realize there's always a bright side to it. and just believe, let's see. I guess the next thing is the tagline, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so my tagline is I am awesome. Just always believe in yourself. And I say I
That's
am
good.
awesome, and I think each person should say to themselves that they are awesome. I am awesome, about themselves. Everybody should think of themselves as awesome and always believe in yourself. So trust your gut. You see something as a red flag, and don't try to say, well, this is the best I can do because I am this old, I am this size, I am this economic level. It doesn't matter. You deserve nothing less than the best, no matter who you are. So just trust your gut.
That's good. I like it. And yeah, I try to do the same thing. It's interesting because just going back on your piece of advice before we end the episode, um I've so we're recording this. I mean, you guys will listen a little bit later on, but throughout when 2025 started, I might have talked about this in a previous episode. I apologize if I'm repeating myself. In when 2025 started, I I think it was the end of 2024 and I was just talking about how bad 2024 was. And one of my friends who I was talking to was like, "But what was bad about it?" Like everything you listed, like and it was a friend who I had done some like fun stuff with in 2024 and she was like, "Okay, so your dating life sucked." And like maybe it wasn't such a good year for the Jews. But like other than that, life was good. I did fun things. I had a good year. So that really gave me perspective to flip my mindset for 2025 and really try to see the good in everything and not the bad and really see that like everything happens for a reason. And I know in my life any bad things that have happened happen for a reason. Like maybe not bad things, but like you're rejected, jobs, guys, everything. It's for a reason. It's because something better is coming.
Mhm.
And I've really tried to internalize that if something whatever's supposed to happen is going to happen. So if something isn't working out or it's not doesn't seem good right now, it's for the best. Like it's for a
Mhm.
reason and it's supposed to be like that and something better is going to happen. So, yeah, so I that one your piece of advice really is what I've been trying to like encompass for my 2025. So I thought
I love it.
that was
And
good.
I think it's off, and I think this podcast is doing a lot for you. I know that you're in a frustrating time being, single in your 30s, and my son goes through this too in Jerusalem. He lived in Washington Heights for 8 years before he made Aliyah, and he dates a lot and whatever. But it's really hard, and I think that you're doing a wonderful job with this podcast, and it's a lot of fun to listen to.
Thank
And I could be
you.
sitting in traffic or I could be cleaning my kitchen and I'm listening to your podcast and I'm laughing and I'm having a great time with it. So
Thank you. I'm glad that the podcast brings other people joy as well. But Hannah, this was so much fun. Thank you
it really
so
was.
much for coming on.
Thank you, Rachel. This was a riot and look forward to seeing the recording whenever it happens.
Yeah, of course. And Sticky Situation Nation, you'll catch me next time. Bye, everybody.